So everybody, in the previous video we made a shirt and we were going off this reference. We're going to try and make the dress now. There's a couple ways you could handle this. You could import the shirt in with the avatar and then put the dress on top of it, or just work on the dress separate and then afterwards import them both in to have them work together. If you put the shirt in now, the dress is going to simulate a little bit slower because it's going to also have the shirt to simulate around. So it's usually easier just to simulate with just one piece at a time. So the shirt, then the dress, and then put them both together and make them work together. So right now we're just going to load up the regular avatar that I was using for the shirt. So now that we have the avatar in here, we could go ahead and start the dress. I'm just going to pick that color out approximately. I'm going to add a new fabric up here. I'm going to name this dress. And I'll change the color to more of that color of the reference image. So it's like a brown, greenish. Doesn't have to match exactly, but it doesn't hurt. That's about right. I'll put a little specularity on it. Just a tiny bit. So that's something. So to start, I'm going to make the corset piece that goes around her waist. You could always measure out her body, but for now, I'm just going to eyeball it. So I'll just make this piece a little bit longer. And since this avatar already has the arrangement points in, I could use them. So I could select this and just select any of them. And then turn off the arrangement points. The corset will be a little bit lower. Just right under the breast. I actually want the seam in the front, so I'm going to change the arrangement option down here. I'm going to change the X position so the seam is in the front. And then I'm going to change the offset because it's a little too loose on her. Lower it down a little bit. Just get it in there. I'm going to make it a little bit wider. That might be too wide. So in the reference image, she has this little flap that's hanging over the corset, so I'm going to just make that now. So on this side, I'm going to add a vertex right here. So I'm going to add an internal line already because this is what the other side is going to be welded into. So this will be welded into this. And then I'll simulate it. It's really loose, so let me just make this tighter already. Let me change the particle distance to 15 and the collision both to 2, my normal. And then put on the thickness rendering. It's still really loose, so let me make that a little bit tighter. It's a corset, so it should be pretty tight. This piece is a little bit too big now. That's a little better. I can still adjust it later. And it's a little too high at the moment. Let me raise this up. And I could strengthen it just to get the form back in everything. Strengthen is a nice option to just go to every so often just to get it to look right. Just to pull the form back. This is still a little too long. So now I'm going to add the dress that stitches into this. I want to make 6 different pieces of the dress to go around this. There's 2 ways you can handle the dress. You can make it into one piece, or you can make 6 different pieces or 8 different pieces, depending how many folds you want or how you want the folds. For this demo, I'm going to do 6 different pieces. I'll just start off with a box like I always do, and I need to add segments into this. So I need to add 6 different edges into here. So I could right click on this edge and then add uniform split, number of lines, and I need 6. And then hit OK. 104.90 is basically what I need on this. 105 is about right. I want the dress a little bit thicker here at the bottom, so I'm just gonna move these out. I want the dress a little shorter than that. So after I make one of these, I'll just copy it and paste it. So this will be where this one would get welded in. This spot will be the next one, and so forth. And I could always turn the arrangement points on and make this a little bit easier on myself. So I have those three on there. Turn off the arrangement points, select these three and slide them down. I don't want them clipping into each other, so I'm just going to move them out a little bit. Simulation will handle them coming in together. And then I'm going to stitch these all in. When it's thicker at the bottom, this is going to add nice wrinkles into it, nice little folds. I could symmetry paste this, or I could just copy and paste it. It's not like I'm going to modify them that much. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to mirror paste it over. This is on the other side. And then I'm going to stitch these into each other. So everything's stitched in besides the final piece. This one has to be stitched over here now. This one and two here. And it's just the other side of the dress. And before I do this, I'm going to freeze this top piece, just so it doesn't move, so I don't have to worry about it. Before I simulate, sometimes I try to save, just because it could explode on me or something could go wrong, so it doesn't hurt to always save. So I'm going to save garment as dress 01 base, and then just save it right here. I have the directory and everything set up, and save. So now I'll simulate it. So there we go. It worked out fine. You'll have little seam lines on everything, but that'll be just fine. You don't have to modify them. You don't have to make them noticeable in the ZBrush mesh afterwards. So just seeing them on here, it won't hurt anything. So let me save that again. Just save right over it. And now I want to do some details on everything. So I'm going to unfreeze this. I'm going to start adding all the little information I wanted. I'm going to add a little trim on the top here first. So I'll copy this, and then I'll paste it right above. And I'm going to cut it right here, and then delete this. And then delete these. So this piece is the part that is hanging out over. I don't need that. I just want to trim on the top edge. So this is just going to get stitched into here. And then the left side to the right side. Lead sewing. I actually need to add a vertex right here. And now I can stitch this into here. I'll make this a little shorter. It's just a trim on top of the dress. Plus, this is probably the area I'm going to use to attach straps on, so it's a little bit extra. So next, I'm going to add the holes on this where the buttons would go. So I'll just add 3 of them. I think the concept had 3. Turn off the thickness viewing so I know where they are. So there'd be 1 button there, 1 button on the bottom, 1 button on the middle. Now I can place them however I think looks the most natural. I'll just select one and then I'll cut. I'll select each one and cut them out. and then just delete it. I'm going to select this geometry. I'm going to put the right layer order send to back. And then when I select this, I could delete the extra pieces. So those are the holes that I wanted. This is where the buttons would go. So let me put on thickness viewing again. Another new feature they added on, which is nice to have, not needed at all. This curved side geometry, if you turn this on, instead of the edges to be all hard, it makes it very soft, very curved edges. This piece is still a little too wide in my opinion, so I'm going to just move this over a little bit and move these over a little bit. Just to get the feeling that these are actually buttoned in, even though I don't have anything on here, I'm going to use the tacking options up here. So I'm going to use the one that is the middle one, which is tacking from clothing to clothing. So I'll just select this and just select an area, the bottom area to here. Same with all the other ones. Then I'm going to put simulation on, and then yeah, it'll get pulled in like it would, and then put back thickness rendering. So there we go. So next I want to do is add the actual corset part on the back, which would get pulled in. So I'm just going to add these two pieces on here that'll pull everything in. I'm not going to add this whole string just because it's going to cause problems. I'm just going to add the two pieces, and then I'm going to add fake strings in here just to pull the corset in. In ZBrush or Maya, I'll model out the string to get it more accurate. But in here, it's just going to be for viewing and for folds. So in the back, this was the middle area. So I'm going to just add two internal lines on these because this is precise. They line up with the middle, but I don't want it that far apart. So I'm going to move them over about accurately. So that's about the distance I want. So I could copy this and paste this just because I want the same height. I could just cut it here. So I could delete that. I don't need any of that. I don't need those. This is just to get the shape on here. So turn off thickness rendering. And this is the back side because it's darker. Sometimes you could tell, sometimes you can. I'm going to rotate this around. And I'm going to weld this side of it into this one. Weld, stitch, same difference I mean. So that would be one part of the corset, which is a little too thick. There we go. And then copy it and mirror paste it, so it'll be the other side of the corset. And then I'm going to stitch it in. I'm going to freeze everything but this area right now, since this is the only area I'm focusing on. And then just simulate it on. Once again, I'm going to select everything, make sure everything is set to the same particle distance and rendering thickness. And curved geometry I want on and everything. Put the thickness view back on, so there we go. So next, I want to add all the buttons going down here, all the holes to slide it in. So I'm going to add the buttons in here where the lace would go. Depending how many holes you want on here, you could just add. I'll just go up to the circle option and then just drag it out. And then just place this where I want. Like always, go to non-thickness viewing so you could view it better. So there's one, and I'll copy it and I'll paste it down. And then just center it. Select all these and then paste them on the other side. And then I'm going to cut them out. And then delete these. I don't need these anymore. So that's basically where the holes would go for the lace slide through. So if I simulate it on, it's fine. Right now it's not getting pulled in. I'm going to add laces on here. I could use the tacking options and just tack it, or I could just make my own laces, which is just faking it basically. So a way I could do this is just add more fabric. So if I add one, I could just move this over. Turn off thickness, so this is the back side. So I'm going to flip normal. So this is the back. I'm going to use default fabric for this one, just so I could see it better. So I want the string to pull this in really tightly, so I'm just going to place it about here. I could always make it tighter later. So the way I would fake this would basically add internal lines. I would get the length on this one, then I would copy this and then paste it over here. Basically it's going to stitch into that area. It's just faking it. Select this so I don't have fold rendering on. Just copy this and then paste it down. And select all those. And I'm going to paste it on the other side as well. I'm going to copy this and then paste enough strings for the rest of the lacing. And then stitch this into these. You can do this however you want. I'm making the lacing in here just to get it to pop, but you could do it all different sorts of ways. Whichever way works for you, whichever way is quickest, basically. So right now it's on there, and I want to unfreeze everything. Let me save this. Save garment as, and I'm going to do detail pass now. Select everything, unfreeze. So right now it's not getting pulled in that tightly. So just go back in and you could just slowly move this over. And it'll pull it in tighter and tighter. So basically I want to pull it in tighter just because I want this to get the folds in here. So that's how I would do the corset right there, so it gets it pulled in. It's pulling pretty tight. Make some of the other ones, the middle ones, a little bit short if you'd like. Just like a corset would be. They would be tighter in the middle, looser at the top. So that's what I would do for the corset. These internal lines, you could turn them off, turn them on, depending how you want it to look. So I want to just add a little trim on the bottom here, which isn't too difficult. It's just adding internal lines. So I could just select all these bottom lines and offset an internal line. Turn off thickness rendering so I could see it on here, and offset internal line. Let's do 20. First I'm going to change this fold angle. I'll change it to 270. And let me see what that looks like. So it basically adds a little trim on the dress. I now want to just add another one above it. So let me just select these. Offset internal line. I want to just go above it. And then same with this one. Offset internal line. And this one isn't the reverse direction. I think since it's mirrored over. I'm going to select these. Selected all of them, turn it off. I'm going to change this to 90. So it just gets that feeling of a trim on there. I'm going to add a little trim right here, right underneath, just to add a little bit more detail. I'm just doing some subtle details in here that don't take too long, and it's easy to do. So let me put it on. Then after I have it on there, let me change it to 270. On there, and let me do the same thing I did on the bottom. Offset internal line, reverse direction, and then this was 90, and then turn off fold rendering, and then select the other three and do the same. Offset internal line 5, 90, and then turn off fold rendering. So it just gets a little trim going around there also. Finally, I want to add the straps that are going up here. So to do that, I'll just draw them out. And then I'll add a new fabric because this is going to be the straps. Apply it to the strap. Name this straps. I want it to be like a dark brown. At first, this won't be exactly right. I just want to get it on there. It's going to be too long. There we go. So the strap is that. I need to find out where to stitch it in. So let me look at the concept really quick. So the back is crisscrossed and the front is straight down. So this side I want to weld into here. The strap is a little too thick. So let me add an internal line to get the exact length on this. So copy this and paste it here, and I don't need that anymore. That was just to get the size of it. And then I'm going to stitch this in. Before I simulate any of this, I definitely want to freeze everything else, since I'm just working on the straps and that could mess up things. And I want to stitch this top piece into approximately over here somewhere. So let me copy this and paste it on this side. And then stitch it in. I believe it should be reversed. Yep. And then if I sim it, it'll go in. It's a little short. And let me change the particle distance and the thickness. This will be a little thicker because it's leather. So after it's on there, I could just slide it over if I want, just to get it how I really want it to look. So that works. And let me copy this and then mirror paste it, because I want one on the other side. And then copy these and paste them where they're going to go. And then this is approximately right there. So then stitch this one in also, and stitch this one in. And then just double check it. And then I can simulate it, and there. Both the straps are on. I want it not going around the side of her breast, I want it going on the front. That's not a big deal because I don't have the shirt on here yet. And you can strengthen it just so it fixes all the twisting. There we go. Unstrengthen, and there. So now if I unfreeze everything else, it'll be fine. I want to make this corset a little tighter in the middle, so last thing I'll do is add little darts on it. Darting is basically making it tighter in those areas. So if I put a dart right there, I'll just slide this over, get it in the middle, and then paste one on the other side as well. It's going to pinch in the corset even more than just the strings are doing. A lot of stuff have this on females, just to get it form-fitting a lot better. These straps always have problems. They slide off and on. I could probably fix that by just moving it a little bit closer inward. There we go. So that's what I would do for the dress part. The shirt I'll add on now. So let me save this as details. Save it. And since the shirt we made in the previous demo, I'm going to just import that in. So I'm going to move all this so nothing is overlaying on each other. I believe this should be placed somewhere about here. I'm just going to try to organize this a little bit better than it was. Sim it. Alright. File, save. Dress. So I'm going to add the shirt in here. So I'm going to go to File, Add Garment, and then I'll open up the directory that I had the shirt in. And there's the shirt. So I have everything in here now. Stuff is colliding. So I'm going to change all of the dress part, the second section, to layer 1. So it goes on top of everything. And I'm going to freeze the shirt for now. So as I freeze the shirt, everything else should come on top of it. There'll be some fighting in there. It'll get on there. The corset always has a little problem, so you could always grab it, move this out, and then freeze this. Just so you could get everything else coming out first. Just pull it out to make sure everything's on top. So once everything's on top, I'll unfreeze this area first. Let it sim back on. Some stuff is colliding in, so I'm going to change this to layer 2 now. So everything goes on top. And then I could unfreeze the shirt now. So let me select the shirt, unfreeze, and then sim it all. After everything's on there, I'll change the layering back to 0. Let me save this up as garment, and then I'm going to just name this all. And now you could select all of it, and you could change the particle distance a little bit lower so it gets a little bit better folds and everything in there. So overall, that's how I would do a dress, a corset. There's some techniques, adding the darts in to pinch it in areas where it would be better form-fitting. The shirt, I would not worry too much about the wrinkles underneath when I was making it because I knew I was going to put a corset and a shirt on top. But overall, that's what I would do. That's an overall quick base for a character. The pouches you made, you could add pouches on her. After you add the details like the buttons or knives or anything you want to add for her, you could add it on here. The straps, I might even just hard poly model them out and redo them in ZBrush. They're just on reference, just where I would like them placed, just to pull in some wrinkles. If the shirt was a little bit baggier, I could get wrinkles here. But overall, since it's a female, the shirts are usually tighter, so that you're not getting as much information there. It's a good example of everything else. So hope you guys enjoy this demo, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.